Shalom, family. You know what? I made an error. I actually set this up a few hours ago and I did not look. It was on unlisted. So it seems like I just had a pop-up live stream and it really wasn't. It was my error. So sorry about that, y'all. What we're going to do is I put a series of videos together, and these are people that actually got the shaft from the federal government. And they're talking about their experience. Now, one thing, um, they are saying that when they got letters, it said their performance was not up to par. That's why they are being let go. And some of them are saying, well, I got good performance review. I always got good performance reviews. It's not that. Now, I used to be a boss, y'all, and I know what that letter means. What they're trying to do is prevent them from getting unemployment. That's what that, oh, well, your performance was just not up to par. That's what that is about. They're trying to make it difficult for these people to get unemployment. I know exactly what that means. And they know they're being disingenuous. But if the government can get away with letting you go, and on top of that, you can't even get unemployment, that's exactly what they will do. And it's a rotten thing, especially if you can prove you had good performance reviews every year. Yeah, I mean, that is something you can always show to unemployment. That's why you should never get rid of those things. Because if you ever have a situation where a job claims, a lot of times they'll tell you your performance wasn't good, and that's really out of racism. especially if you're a melanated person and they don't want you to get any unemployment. Always remember that and keep those performance reviews, especially if they're really good. Keep them. Mm-mm-mm. People are, man, facing some very difficult times, and getting jobs is just not as easy as it used to be years ago. Years ago, you could get fired from a job and a week or two later have another job. It was really that easy back in the day. That's why a lot of times when people got fired, they weren't too concerned because within a few weeks you would have another job. That happened to a lot of people. But now you may go several months without anybody even calling you, and you're putting in endless resumes and applications and you hear nothing. you know that is starting to become the norm out here, and that's pretty scary, especially when you got obligations. You got children, you gotta pay your bills, you gotta pay for your card note, you gotta get gas, you gotta buy groceries, and it's tough. It's tough out here. And these folks, that's why they're all upset, because they're like, what am I gonna do? Yeah, because it may be a long wait before you get another job. So let me go ahead and share my screen and then we'll get started. Let's see here.
Please pardon my.
Okay. All right. Just give me a
Hi,
second because it always automatically plays when I upload it. All right, y'all. Give me a one if you can see the screen. Thank you. All right.
Hi everyone. Please pardon my appearance as it is after 4 a.m. on Tuesday, February 18th. And I wanted to come on here as one of the thousands of federal employees who lost their job with the federal government this weekend. More specifically, I was removed from my position through an email from an unrecognized HR account from my agency around 1 p.m. on Saturday of this holiday weekend. No one within my chain of supervision was involved in this decision. I have gone through the entire range of emotions this past weekend. There is a lot of sadness in my heart. There is also a lot of anger. The firing of thousands of federal employees across the government is going to have detrimental impacts on regular people like yourself watching this video. My position with my healthcare agency was involved in Affordable Care Act health insurance marketplace policy and operations. And so I was one of the people regulating health insurers to make sure that they were not selling you junk insurance, making sure that they were covering all the benefits that they had to cover, charging you a fair amount of cost sharing, making sure that they weren't discriminating against you based on your health conditions or health status. And with fewer people like myself in the government, you can imagine the impact that that will have on the regulation of massive corporations. And I think that's part of the point of all of this. I have gone back and forth all weekend with what comes next for me. I was a dentist before moving to DC. I graduated from dental school and put my clinical career on pause in order to move here and try to make a difference. I wanted to make dental care more accessible and affordable for people, and I felt like I finally had that opportunity in this job that I was just let go of. One of the hardest parts of all of this is that I don't know if I've really made a difference. Um, I'm really at a loss for direction right now in what I'm doing with my life, and I'm really not sure what comes next for me, but whatever it is, hoping to make the best of it, as we always do, and really appreciate all the love and support of people out there who recognize just how cruel this is. I'm sending love to all of my federal workers out there who are either hanging on to their jobs still or were just let go this weekend. I know the pain that you're feeling, and the entire network has been so supportive, and I want to offer that same support to all of you. If there's any lessons to be drawn from this, it is that we do not need the richest people in the world controlling our government. Our government is supposed to be for the people, and the only purpose of all of this is not to decrease the federal deficit or decrease spending like they're claiming. We make up such a small portion of federal government spending. It's really to decrease regulation and allow businesses to go unregulated and take control of the economy. So I think we're in a really dark time, and it's going to take a lot of work for all of us to rebuild from this, but I am committed to doing that work in whatever role comes next, and I hope you all understand the gravity of this moment and do your own part to chip in. So I don't know what else to say, but for now, just wanted to share my story and send my love to anyone else going through this. All right.
I always knew I wanted to work for the IRS. This was my dream job.
Today was day one of Elizabeth Caron's job search. The 22-year-old from New Orleans was let go yesterday after just 6 months at the IRS, where she worked as an auditor on high-income tax returns.
We were already really needing more employees to handle the cases that we already had.
CBS News obtained an email that was sent to IRS workers this week. It said those being fired were newer probationary employees who were not deemed as critical to filing season.
I was fired from my federal position on Friday, February 14th from my agency after working there for 3 months and claiming to be due to poor performance and my skills and ability, which I have yet to have a performance review because I just started in October. To give you a little bit of context, my program, 2,500 people applied and 46 of us got in. They send you to a different state usually. Most of us relocated to a local state tribal public health department, and so a lot of us are doing very on the ground work. We are on the ground doing hard work, being deployed for different outbreaks, and we were all terminated. And not only were we terminated, but we all uprooted our lives and moved to new states in October. Many of us signed long leases that we are unable to get out of without paying an arm and a leg. Many of us do no longer have health insurance because we were receiving health care from our employer. That's just my program. And I know many other people were impacted, people who had worked at agencies for 10, 20, 30 years and recently got a promotion or transferred to a new department, all were cut because they were on probationary periods. So it's not about performance, it's not about how long you've worked at the agency, because they really aren't looking at any of that stuff or caring who gets burned in the process. Many people are single parents who this was their only source of income and they provide for their family, have worked in a federal position for 20, 30 years, they're gone, they no longer have health insurance. I've been reading stories of people who are pregnant and get health insurance through the federal health benefits, and that's been cut. They're 7, 8 months, 9 months pregnant, and they no longer have health insurance, maternity leave, or anything to help them through their last months of pregnancy. So all I'm asking is to have some empathy, and before you comment cheering emojis or that you're so happy that this happened, let's think about how this impacts people's lives, people that have moved across the country, people who are about to give birth and no longer have health insurance, single parents who provide for their children, and all the other factors, retirement and savings accounts, people who had long-term plans that are now being thrown out the door. And if you were one of the employees impacted, or you think that it might be happening soon or anything like that, I am sorry, and I am open to being a resource if you need it.
Hey, my name's Ashley, and I'm one of the tens of thousands of federal employees who were unjustly fired this weekend. And I want to tell you a little bit about how that happened and why, as the American people, we should be really worried about this. When you're hired on as a Fed, you go through something called the probationary period, which sounds like something negative, but really it's just the either 1 or 2 years after you were first hired, where you don't have the full tenure or protections that other senior career federal employees have. So if you're hired with a disability, which is also called Schedule A, as I was, your probationary period lasts for 2 years. So I was hired as a contractor to the NIH in March of 2022. I was hired on as a Fed in September of 2023, and now here we are in 2025, and I still have about 8 months left on my probationary period, if my math is correct. Now, this might sound really boring, but this is important, okay? So pay attention. The Trump administration has decided that in order to do a wide-scale reduction in force, they are going to just, without any regard for who the people are, what their positions are, or their seniority, whatever, any probationary employee that is still within their 1 to 2 year period is just fired. And that's what happened this weekend in the Department of Health and Human Services and its sister agencies like the National Institutes of Health, which is who I work for. Okay, so probationary employees fired. My colleagues and I all got the same form letter from an unknown HR account saying that we had been fired for performance issues, okay, which, as you can imagine, with no proof to back up performance issues and the exact same form letter sent to all employees, the performance issues really aren't the problem here. So obviously I'm upset, right? I landed in Arizona to visit my grandmother and some other family members, and at 10 o'clock at night I was checking my work email to find this form, termination letter that was sent to everyone else in my position at the agency. So it sucks, right? You don't want to lose your job. You don't want to be fired for political reasons. And there will be class action lawsuits to fight back against this. But that's not really what I'm worried about here. And this is why I want you to pay attention. The team that I worked for at the NIH is the team that directs all of the HIV funding for the entire National Institutes of Health. And HIV funding is what allows researchers to study how to find a cure, for example, or how to implement the treatments that are available so that people who either don't have health insurance or who are poor or who have disabilities or who are homeless are able to access HIV treatment in order to live happy, healthy lives. Okay, so people are just being indiscriminately fired from programs like this. There are also programs at the NIH that study cancer. If your mom got breast cancer last year, for example, the money that is going to these scientists who are employed by the federal government, these are the people who are doing the cancer research, trying to find a cure, trying to figure out the best way to support people who have cancer. Similarly, firefighters are sometimes federal employees. The National Forest Service are federal employees. The Federal Aviation Administration are federal employees who have been fired under this probationary issue, okay? You are worried about air traffic controllers not having enough people to staff the control towers, and we're having more plane crashes these days. These are people who are being indiscriminately fired. And often the folks who are on probationary periods are the ones who are the most energized. They just got out of their PhD program, for example. They're excited to start. They've committed themselves to a lower paying career in the federal service in order to serve the American people. So these are the people who are being fired. Now, if that doesn't worry you, that stuff is fine with you. You want to see the government cut waste or whatever they're saying their excuses. That's fine. But if you care about the programs that help people in this country, often the people who have the least amount of resources, this should worry you. Federal employees are not evil bureaucrats that are trying to take American taxpayers. We are the people who are taking lower paying jobs on purpose in order to make sure that the social programs we have in place in this country are carried out. So if you'd like to learn more, leave a comment. I'm happy to make more videos on this issue, but I want people to know what's really going on.
At 11:55 p.m. on February 13th, I received an email notifying me of my termination from my federal civil service position. The next morning, I was instructed to complete termination paperwork and return my government equipment. As a disabled United States Army veteran, I devoted 6 years of my life to serving our country during 2 wars, volunteering my mind, body, and soul for the American people. Throughout my 17-year tenure in civil service, primarily with the United States Army Recruiting Command, I focused on creating advertising products to facilitate Army recruitment efforts. Most recently, I served with the United States Department of Agriculture, specializing in visual products for amber waves, daily charts of note, which the president has tweeted before, data visualization, and data products. At the same time, I have been managing life as a single father, helping my daughter through college and caring for my son with epilepsy. The U.S. Office of Personnel Management terminated me based on my performance. I have never had a bad performance. On top of that, they locked all access to my performance reports, which gave me no grounds to stand on. The sudden nature of my dismissal left me without severance pay, a 2-week notice, clarification on what benefits I get to keep or have. I don't even know if I have health insurance. An administrative error originated from HR placed me on the wrong type of probation, despite my status as a tenured government employee who had already completed a 3-year probationary period. This error unjustly resulted in my termination. I plan to file an appeal with the U.S. Merit Systems Protector Board, but they are overwhelmed with a growing number of employee termination cases and are also facing the loss of their own staff, which may delay the ability to provide assistance. I call upon U.S. representatives, including my Kentucky representatives, Governor Beshear, Senator Rand Paul, and Senator Mitch McConnell, to advocate for the federal workers nationwide. It is imperative that the American people comprehend the challenges faced by federal employees such as myself. If my experience resonates with you, I urge you to share it. There are numerous others enduring similar hardships. We're going to do this together. To my fellow federal workers struggling with similar uncertainties, seek support during these challenging times. You are in my thoughts and prayers. God bless.
Feel pretty lost. I don't know where I'm going to go forward from here. You know, I know the job market's not great right now, and what occurred today across the country is not going to help the job market.
What do you make of the Trump administration's actions?
I thought that he was. I did support him. I was a Trump supporter. You know, when he talks about government waste and all that, yes, I'm behind it. I believe there is a lot of stuff in the government that needs fixing. And that's part of the reason why I actually wanted to work for the government, actually, to help change the things that are wrong in the world, you know? And I thought that someone with like his business acumen would have come in with a fine-tooth comb and actually found it, instead of coming in with a wrecking ball and destroying people's lives for no reason.
Hi, I am a probationary federal employee. Well, I was. Last week, I was fired along with about 1,200 others in my agency. The email said that based on my performance, the agency couldn't show that I demonstrated that keeping me in my role was in the public interest. In my role as public affairs specialist for the state I live in, I was the person who sent out press releases and managed our website and sent out a newsletter letting the local ag producers in our state know what was coming up program-wise and when to apply for it. I worked on photos and stories about producers in our state who were using our practices so that they could be someone that their peers could reach out to learn the benefits of our programs. I was also right in the middle of developing a booklet about our top 15 conservation practices that we use in our state. Each one of those had a photo and listed what it was and its benefits to our resources and what the farmer needed to do in advance to be ready to apply and what technical considerations they needed to make and how to maintain it. And the cool thing was that this was something we could hand out at events, but we could also hand it out at our local field offices. And it gave enough information to the farmers that the field staff didn't have to spend as much time doing that, explaining those things, and they could use their time to spend more time in the field, giving technical advice, writing applications, writing contracts, and helping the farmers in their community. For those efforts, and for others that I've done over the last 15 months, I received 2 SPOT awards, which are performance awards for going above and beyond. I got a fully successful rating on my annual review at the end of September. And just this past January, I was able to get a promotion of 2 GS grade levels, which I was really proud of and excited about. But the people at the top of our agency in Washington, D.C. don't know that about me and about what I do in my role. You probably didn't know what I did, that there were people in probably most of the federal agencies doing similar things and many, many other important jobs that you don't think about or wouldn't think about. And the people up in Washington don't know who I am as a person in that role. And unless you know me, you don't know who I am as a person in your community. A person who was fired in the mass terminations that are still happening right now in our federal government and in the agencies that make it up. So, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm 49. I live in the middle of a very, very red state. And until about a decade ago, I was right there, just as red as could be. I'm now a very dark blue purple and happy to be there. I'm a mom to 4 kids. I'm a wife. As of next week, we will have all of our kids in our 20s, which means we beat teenage pregnancy. Yay. I'm very excited that in just a few weeks, I will be a first-time grandma, and that's my special word for grandma. I am less excited about how I'm gonna go visit her. Losing this job means that I don't know how I'm gonna afford it. It is not close by where they live, and travel is going to be required, and I'm just devastated when I think about it, so I'm trying not to. Yeah, I love to laugh with my kids and my husband at really inappropriate things. I get up way too early in the morning and go lift weights because cool grandmas have muscles. I enjoy taking weekends with my husband and going out and hiking and backpacking in all of the amazing state parks and national parks and reserves close by. I love good food and I love good people. If you are one of my people, man, I will be your biggest cheerleader. I will be a shoulder for you to vent to and to cry on. And if it's required, if you need it, if you need defending or fighting for, I will fight for you tooth and nail with everything I have. I am all in for my people. And I'm all in for just about everything I do. And I was all in for this job. The funny thing is that so was everyone I worked with. The hundreds of people in my agency that I worked with all gave everything to serve their communities. They loved what they did. That may be unique, but I suspect there's more people like that than not in most federal agencies. My agency isn't a faceless, liberal, deep state swamp of bureaucrats. It's made up of people who are red and blue and all colors in between, who love serving their community. And I think the same applies to most agencies. They're the people in your neighborhood. Like Bob from Sesame Street used to sing, the people that you meet each day. So now you know who I am, and I want to know, who are you?
Hey guys, come along with me to find out if I'll have a job or not within the next 2 to 3 months. Yep, you heard me right. 7 months pregnant, losing my job. And you know who I have to thank for that? Donald Trump. He put in executive orders that all federal employees must work in office come April 28th. And that's literally not possible for me because I live in South Carolina. The office I work for is in Arizona, and there is no regional office within 50 miles of me. So, found out today that if you do not have a home base by April 28th, you will be let go, which is great because, like I said, 7 months pregnant. So come April, I will be popping out a baby. Here's her adorable clothes that I bought her, probably the last clothes I'll ever be buying her because I'm about to file for bankruptcy. Yep. So April will come, I will pop out a baby, lose my job, and file for bankruptcy. So you know what? 2025 is really just off to the greatest start. So once again, shout out to anybody who voted for Donald Trump. You're literally ruining my life. Not just mine, everyone's. But yeah, found out today, really nothing. Only that I will be unemployed in 2 to 3 months. So I will be posting on here every day until I make money like Avery Woods. Thanks. Bye.
For the first time ever, I regret voting Republican. Lost my job today. Was cut out by Doge. I'd had that job for 20 years. I was part of the Piper study. It's and we were so close to solving this, and now it's, I guess we will never know. It's, we were studying the best way to pickle peppers and how many peppers can you get in a peck? We may never know. We just may never know now. It's I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Hello. I was a federal worker who had 1 month left of her probationary period, and today I was told that I will be terminated at some point this week. I'm utterly devastated. I'm confused because my recent performance evaluation was exceptional and I got upwards of $1,500 as a bonus because my performance was so good. And this was my dream job, and it's just being taken away by an administration who doesn't care about science. It doesn't care about people who might be homeless with their dog now. They don't care about our species that we're trying to conserve. That's exactly what my job was doing. It was just to assess habitat conservation for species for a 55-year habitat conservation plan. We should all be so mad right now. We should all be crying like this because I'm just devastated.
Hi, I was a recent federal employee that was terminated due to the restructuring and cutting of federal funds. I was a USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service employee, or NRCS. I specialized in natural resource conservation and helping producers deal with issues that involved soil, water, and air quality, as well as erosion and access to fresh water and correct forage for their livestock. We helped farmers, my agency helps farmers all over the country, and we go into their property, assess the area, and see if there are anything that we can help them with, whether it's, a no-till situation, if it's, spraying for herbicides, if it's, an erosion sinkhole that's going to cause your cow to fall in and, potentially lose a calf, or, it's eating away at your field and you want to put a drain pipe in. We go in, we help the producer, we make up a contract, and then we help assist the producer not only make sure that it's input correctly so that way they don't have this issue anymore, but we financially assist them. We reimburse them a percentage or cost amount that they sign for so that the burden does not fall just on the American producer. This goes for anything large scale, your soybeans, your corn, your cotton, your wheat, or your large cattle operations, your dairy and beef. In Mississippi, which is the state that I currently work in, we deal a lot with small producers, people who grow stuff at your farmer's market. You know, we love helping farmers. That is our motto. You know, we love helping anyone and everyone who comes through our doors. I was let go or terminated or laid off, fired, whatever you want to call it, due to performance. Now, I am a probationary employee. You're always a probationary employee for the first 12 months of service in any federal job. I have nothing but outstanding performance reviews, and this simply is not the case. I was let go due to cutting of federal funds, and like I've mentioned, this does not affect the people who are sitting around and have been in government for 20 years and aren't doing their job and are sitting around doing nothing. No, we were boots on the ground, walking the field. Like, we were busy every day, meeting deadlines, helping farmers, dealing with, client appointments to try to get it right. And this is going to fall on the consumers of agriculture products, which is everyone in the world who wants to eat, and your producers. So if you know someone who gets federal assistance through FSA, the Farm Service Agency, they lost a lot of people just because they were new hired. This is the Animal and Plant, the APHIS Department of Agriculture. I've seen the Forestry Commission, so anyone who produces mass amounts of trees for, timber, they're affected. We help a lot with timber as well, which we were already all short-staffed, and you just cut everyone. There was one girl left in her office now. One. She can't go to these farmers' places of operation and maintain an office. So therefore, farmers will go without. Farmers will not get the assistance. They will not be able to fix these problems, which will only get worse. And it's going to fall on us as consumers and burden the agriculture community. And it's not being reported in the news just how far-reaching that this mass layoff was. Sure, everyone wants to believe that this is the bogus and the ridiculous agencies that are being cut. No, this is the USDA. These are the people who grade your food, check your food, make sure your food is, in good standing and hasn't been, shot up with antibiotics, because they are always withdrawal periods. This is everything. And it's not being reported. And it's going to fall on the agriculture producer. I loved my job. I hope they call me back to my job. My producers made my day, and I loved helping them. And you're cutting people. I don't say you, but they are cutting people for just existing with no warning. This isn't doing what everyone thought it was. They're not cutting the people not doing their job, and they're not really cutting funding, because the two people that they laid off in my office have a salary of combined less than $100,000 a year. Let's just think about that for a moment. So, if you feel inclined to support, your USDA employees, and you want to call your congressman or your senator or write them a letter saying that the USDA employees are essential to farming operations, farming communities, and keeping food safe and available for all, I would appreciate it as a previous USDA employee, as well as many of my colleagues I'm sure would appreciate it, but I do not speak for the whole agency. I'm only here to inform the people that I know about the situation and how far-reaching it actually affected them. I hope that something changes, and I hope more information comes out, and I hope to be back helping producers the best way I can. But for now, I am moving on and trying to figure out life just like every other federal employee that was released, and is trying to navigate this very weird and odd situation with no information. So, thank you.
Until yesterday, I was a proud federal employee. I took a leap of faith leaving the private sector in pursuit of something greater than my paycheck. I wanted the last career of my life to mean something bigger than myself. I took a pay cut even because I believed that working in service to my country and to the American people meant something. In the moment I swore my oath to protect the Constitution of the United States was one of the happiest of my life. To serve, to help, to contribute, These were the ideals I believed in as I entered the ranks of the federal service. And for 6 months, I served with honor and dedication in the Emergency Communications Division of CISA as a writer-editor. My mission was clear: to support the programs that help emergency responders, that advise 911 call centers, that provide critical assistance to the American people during times of disaster. In that short time, I poured my heart into my work, knowing that the work that I did was important. But yesterday, I was illegally terminated. As a probationary employee within the federal government, the rules are clear. A probationary employee can only be fired for performance-related issues or gross misconduct. I have received 2 awards for my service in just 6 months, something that speaks to my commitment and the positive impact I have made. Yet despite this, my record has been marred with a callous accusation that I lack the skills, knowledge, or abilities to do my job. This is an outright lie, one that is not only refutable, but in my case entirely baseless. I am being labeled as incompetent when the reality is that I have been anything but. It is a deeply painful betrayal, not just for me, but for the thousands of others who took the same oath to be of service to this country and who are also being illegally terminated. I'm not saying this to seek sympathy or validation for myself, but I need to draw attention to a larger, more urgent issue. In a time when the federal workforce is so vital to the well-being of this nation, too many continue to stereotype federal employees as lazy, uneducated, undeserving of the benefits we receive. We are often seen as people living off the taxpayer's dollar, as if we do not do our job or the work that we do is not meaningful. And I'd say to anyone who believes this, look at the dedication of those who work for the American people. The nurses in the VA looking after America's heroes, the scientists searching for cures to Alzheimer's and cancer, the wildland firefighters who put their lives at risk battling devastating wildfires across the U.S., the cybersecurity professionals who work around the clock to protect our country from cyber attacks that could cripple businesses, government operations, and even national security. We are not lazy. We are not uneducated. We are not just employees. We are citizens who choose to give of ourselves for the greater good of all. And we are being illegally fired by the thousands. I will survive this. I am resilient. But I am scared and heartbroken for our nation, for how it is slowly being dismantled piece by piece, and for our Constitution that we all swore to protect as it is being ignored and slowly torn apart before our eyes. I'm no longer a Fed, but my oath will not be broken.
As you can see, they are still feeling the pain and they're going to. You know, what everybody's got to realize is these firings are going to go on for the entire 4 years Donald Trump is in office. It's going to be more. And some of these agencies may get hit multiple times, and that's what you have to realize. As long as you're not safe in a federal job anymore. Before it was a lot of security. That's why so many people took those jobs, because they were secure. They're not secure jobs anymore, and they never will be. Not under a Donald Trump administration. So even if you're not laid off, it probably would not hurt nothing if you start job hunting before it gets to that point. I'm serious. Y'all better start looking at these job messaging boards and go over to these career sites and start looking. You may be safe for now, but you may not be safe leading forward. Right now they're getting rid of the people that were on probation. But they going to get around to you folks that weren't on probation. They going to get around to y'all too. And out of all these people we looked at, I wonder how many voted for Donald Trump. This is what you voted for. I think some people felt, oh, well, if he does anything, it's not going to impact me. Well, yes, it will. Yes, it will. It's going to be tough for some people out here. They may eventually find work, but it's definitely not going to be easy for these people at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, nobody feels superior when they lose their jobs. Now it's back to the drawing board, and you got to get out here and sell yourself to companies so you can get hired. That's all these jobs are. You know, you're just putting yourself up on the auction block and see how much somebody is willing to pay you. But I knew nothing good was going to come by having Donald Trump back in office and Elon Musk, his new sidekick. Mm-mm. This is how it's going to be. It's going to be chaotic. And the way these folks are getting fired, there's no 2 weeks notice or a week or a day or nothing. They have to leave the same day they get the notice of termination. They got to leave. Like in some instances, I heard online, a half hour to get their stuff and get out. That is like insane. That is absolutely crazy. Mhm. And there's no need in crying to Donald Trump because he doesn't care. Elon don't care, but there are thousands of lawsuits filed by these former federal employees saying that their termination was unlawful. Elon Musk was not authorized to fire anyone. And they actually may have a point with that, you know. Technically, first they said he was in charge of Doge. Now they're backing away from that and saying that he is a special advisor to Donald Trump. They don't know what to make Elon, but he just doesn't belong there for real. All right, I saw Freedom 2020. Thank you for the super chat. The only thing this cutback showed me was the hatred towards Black Americans, excuses when it came to reparations, billions for everyone else. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you for your support. Elon is laughing about that stuff. If you go and look at the video where he's holding the chainsaw on stage, he think it's funny doing this to people, cutting these jobs and leaving people's lives upside down. This man is laughing about that. He knows he's not impacted. He's the richest man on earth right now. And so he doesn't have a care or concern in the world about what's to come for these people. His life is not going to change. He's going to go on living. And if you think that Elon is not getting a lot of money from this government, you got another thought coming. See, as long as he is clicked in with Donald Trump, he can probably virtually get any contract he wants. He probably doesn't have to put forth much effort to get these multi-billion-dollar contracts from the government. So the way I see it, this man got it made. As long as he is tied to Donald Trump, he really don't have to try hard to get those contracts. And you can best believe he's going to be racking them up the whole time he's around Donald Trump. That's what he's going to be doing. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, look, I said this before, you can't trust any politician, y'all. You really cannot trust any politician at all. Denise, this bowler, you said I was fired from the IRS in 2001, a month before my 12-month probation was over, and they lied and said I took unearned paid. Hold on, it went by kind of fast. I took unearned paid time off. When I researched it, it was a lie. That's what can happen. Okay, yeah, so they lied on you in order to justify getting rid of you. Yeah, I mean, look, that happened to people. I worked with a young black woman. Back then, we were all in our 20s and 30s. And anyway, she got accused of something that she didn't do. And she ended up losing her job over that. And the thing is, I wanted her to fight it. And initially she said she would, but once she ended up getting another job, she didn't pursue fighting it. And it was something that occurred on a day she wasn't even at work. So she could not have done what she was accused of. It's been so long, I can't even remember what it was. But yeah, she didn't pursue it at all. And I was a little disappointed in her for not pursuing it, because I really believe she could have won. But I understand. I mean, we all got our own reasons on why we don't pursue certain things. But I'm sorry that happened to you. You certainly didn't deserve that. And I hope things are better for you now, Denise. That's a terrible thing that happened to you. Mhm. Yeah, you know, I think we should all get up. If you do have a job, do your best on your jobs, but don't put 100% of yourself to the point where you're like these people. It was my dream job and I lost my job. And, I mean, you got to always prepare for those unexpected things. I mean, look at the pandemic. When that happened, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of businesses that closed during that time never came back. And that was under a Trump administration when you really think about it. When a lot of people start working at home, and then there were a lot of people that outright lost their jobs altogether because they had the kind of job that could not be done at home. You know, every job can't be done from your house. And that was a big period where a lot of jobs were lost, and that was under a Trump administration. And now look at what's happening under his second Trump administration. A lot of people are losing their jobs. In fact, I believe by the time we get to December, this is going to be a record breaking year for job loss. That's what I really truly believe. So, yeah, these folks are another group of people out there protesting and fighting the government on what they call their illegal job loss. But at the end of the day, they don't care. They don't care that these folks lost their job. At the end of the day, it's one less salary or multiple less salaries that they got to pay out on, multiple less benefits they got to pay. One of many ancestral reflections. Thank you for the super chat. They are some crybabies. They never thought it would touch them. No, you're right. That's what the tears are all about. That's why it's so many. If you go over on TikTok, y'all, there are thousands of videos like these over there where these folks have lost their jobs. And wow, I have seen both men and women on these videos crying because they lost their jobs. But, look, a lot of these people that call themselves MAGA, a lot of them have federal jobs, y'all, and they are losing their jobs as well after voting for Trump. So, all I got to say is if you work for the federal government, you may not want to sit there and get too comfortable because they could be coming for you next. For real. Yeah, well, a lot of things are going to go up. Food, yep, food stamps and SNAP benefits. And, you're going to have also another class of homeless people in the country. Okay? And you're going to have a lot of working poor people. That's going to go up under a Trump administration. Okay, let me see what that says. Thank you for the super chat. One of many ancestral reflections. Saw a few, both men and women, leaking out the face like a hydrant. Yeah, many of them are crying like that on video. Yeah, they are. Well, yeah. I mean, be careful accepting a deal from Trump and Elon, though. I mean, what they're doing is they're offering buyouts, which means if they leave their jobs now, they will get a paycheck all the way up until September before they're cut off. All right. So, and they said a lot of people took that deal. And maybe they just feel by the time September come or before then, they'll have another job. Hmm. The only one I thought was kind of silly was the IRS. I don't think they should have cut all these jobs during tax season. If you were going to cut IRS jobs, I think the appropriate time would have been more like around June or July when it really was not that many people filing tax returns, like during the summer months. I could see it then, but in the middle of tax season, no, I think this was not a good move at all. They eliminated 7,000. I went back and looked. 7,000 IRS jobs were lost, and there's probably going to be more in the near future. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if anybody filed yet. Hopefully, you'll get everything like you're supposed to. I hope so. I hope many of you that are supposed to get your returns will get them. Hopefully, you will. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Been on here for a whole hour. And I thank you all for being here. And we'll definitely come back on another topic. And if you didn't get a chance to look at my video that's out on Joy Reid, she got the axe from MSNBC. They let her go because it seems like they're going in a more right leaning way in the future. And so shows like her are no longer needed. So they let her go. I was not watching Joy Reid or feeling her like that anyway. So good riddance as far as I'm concerned. So everybody, please enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And hopefully, if you can come back a little later, if I have another topic, I hope to see you then. Shalom, family.